Today we are reviewing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dogshit. I mean Destiny. I can't really lie. I've never been a big fan of the Indiana Jones franchises. Most of like the mainstream franchises, like the big ones, I enjoy most of those movies. Indiana Jones is just one I've never really watched. Like I've seen like bits and pieces of the movies on TV. I think another one is Mission Impossible. I've never seen a Mission Impossible film. Those are the two franchises I've never got into. With this new movie coming out, I was like, let me go see it. I had nothing better to do. I was like, let me go watch it and then I can review it. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really have any expectations with this. I knew it was gonna be a bit wacky. Like it's not meant to be taken seriously, these movies, and obviously all the last ones are pretty old. Like the first one came out in like 1981 or some shit, and the last one I think was like 2008 when I was looking into it. So these movies are pretty old, so I was expecting them to like step up the bar. Like at least they could do some good action sequences, and the fights wouldn't all be really weird. Yeah, let's talk about some of the good things with this movie because that will take a lot less time. And if I start with the bad things, we'll be here forever. So this movie is like somewhere in the middle of like John Wick Chapter 4 and Fast and Furious X with its like action and how wacky it is. I'd say the action is still pretty good, but there is just some wacky moments in here that kind of derail the movie a little bit. I'll say the intro sequence on the train is fun. Most Indiana Jones movies that I've seen, they start with a pretty intense action scene at the start, and this one I like the scene of like him and the computer from Captain America Winter Soldier just running on the train and them just fucking shit up. That was pretty fun to watch. It was a good intro to the movie. I also like the cave sequence where they go through the cave. That's kind of more what I expect from the movie because there was a lot of just bits of this movie that didn't remind me of an Indiana Jones movie. It was just kind of really strange what they were doing in the middle part. But the cave sequence where they actually go looking for the second part of the Archimedes dial or whatever, that is actually a pretty good. That's pretty good. I would say it has some callbacks to the original movie. Like it tries. Obviously, it brings back some of the older characters and stuff, but it tries to do callbacks and it tries to like be like, hey, we're an Indiana Jones movie. We know all the references and stuff. It does give me a bit of like Space Jam 2 vibes though, where they're just trying to call back to a lot of things and it doesn't really make sense and you don't really care. In terms of characters, there's only one real character that I kind of like, and that's the bad guy, the Hannibal Lecter, playing the Nazi physicist or whatever he was. I thought he was an interesting character. There's also a weird like neo-Nazi country dude. Like I guess he's meant to represent the new age Nazis, like the KKK sort of Nazis. And it's really hilarious in this movie how he keeps getting his ass beat by an old age pensioner at Indiana Jones. Apart from those two characters, the rest of them are kind of just meh. Like Indiana Jones is known for having some good sidekicks that go around with him, but I think the sidekicks in this movie are pretty dog shit, I will say that. Apart from a few action sequences and a few funny characters, the rest of the movie I didn't particularly like. There's a lot of bad things. The first thing I want to talk about is the side character, the woman. So she's like the daughter of the guy from the start of the film that he's stealing the style from the train on. And she's just a really irritating character. I don't know why she's so annoying, but for like 75% of the movie, she's just a bitch basically, and she's extremely irritating. I don't know if it's like they cast the character wrong or the character's just bad. I think it was a bit of a mixture of both, but I think the character's just awful, and she kind of just has like a change of heart at the end. It's just kind of strange. I don't particularly like her. Then you also have like the little boy that accompanies them, and he's also a little weird. And of course, they have to have the little bro moment in this movie where the kid fucks everything up. Everything's going to plan, and he just decides to wander off, steal some money, buy ice cream, and get kidnapped by Nazis. Of course, it's always the little bro. It's always the little bro in every movie. Talking about Indiana Jones in this movie, he kind of just seems like a senile old man. Like he just seems like he's done with life and he wants to die. And I get that. Like I get that message throughout the movie. It's like, bro, does man even want to be making this movie? I remember when I saw Harrison Ford back in, was it 2016 when The Force Awakens came out? And that's where obviously Han Solo dies. I was like, bro, man looks like he's a bit on the brink of death in this movie. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like he's on the brink of death. He just looks very confused. I don't know. Maybe he should retire. I don't know if it's just him. I've never really been the biggest Harrison Ford fan myself, but old man Indiana Jones, I don't like it. I don't like it. It doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean? It doesn't really make sense. Like they try and do like callbacks to it, saying, "Oh, I'm not as young as I used to be." He's struggling to climb a wall, and he tries to punch some guy, and he doesn't hurt the guys. They try and like show that he's old, but at the same time, he's also kicking ass at 8 years old, and I'm just like, that's not the most believable thing. But of course, this movie's not meant to be super believable. But still, I wasn't digging in old Indiana Jones. Also, let's talk about the villains because the villains are obviously Nazis. This whole franchise, for the most part, the villains are Nazis. I'm kind of over this tropey triple villain, this like three-headed villain that's either Nazis, fucking Al Qaeda, or Russians. Like it's just the three. I'm kind of done with that triad of villains. Okay, can we do some creativity? Why did they just have to bring Nazis back? Like this movie is set like what 20 plus years after after World War II, and they're like, yeah, let's just bring a Nazi back into this. They could have not thought of a better idea. I'm like, isn't that idea kind of spent now? We're almost like fucking 80 years removed from that shit. There's so many mediums where Nazis have been the villains, and rightfully so. But like, I'm kind of bored of it. You know what I mean? They're the villains of fucking video games. Like, it's all video games. Every medium, books, video games, movies, TV shows, they've had them as the villains so much. At this point, I'm kind of just bored of it. It's like, that's not very original anymore. I feel like everything's been done with that. Can we move on and maybe think of a bit more of an original idea and a better villain? You know what I mean? This movie also like takes some pages out of the Fast and Furious book. Like, I know the movies have never been something that's super serious and a lot of wacky shit happens in them, but I don't know why they went full Fast and Furious at times. Like, why is the motorbike catching the plane? They did this in Fast and Furious, I believe, was it 6 or 7, where they catch that massive fucking plane on the runway. They did it again with a motorbike in this movie, and I'm just like, bro, I know that's not real. I know, suspend your disbelief for movies like this, but come on, bro. Come on, man. Like, can we not do that? We didn't need to add that scene into the movie, you know? This one is a bit of a spoiler, but there's also this weird time travel thing that happens because the whole point of Archimedes' dial is that it can travel in time, you know? It sees the wormholes in time and you can jump through it and go wherever you want in theory. At least that's what the Nazi guy thought. He thought he was gonna go back to like World War II and just win the war, or he was gonna kill Hitler and win the war or some shit. I don't know what he was gonna do. His motive wasn't very clear from the start. Like, at the start of the movie, he's not even evil, this Nazi guy. I mean, I guess he's a Nazi, but he's kind of going against them a little bit, saying, "Oh, this dial's good," blah blah blah, and then he gets the dial yonked from him by Indiana Jones, and then hits a fucking lamppost going at however many miles an hour on a train, and he's got no scarring from that either. But whatever. Like, there's not too much depth to the villain. I just like the actor. I think that's why I like the villain, because I like the actor. That's about it. There's also one really wacky line in this movie where the guy who Indiana Jones steals the dial with, like this doctor, he's a German guy from Captain America, like the short, weird doctor experiment guy who turns himself into a computer. Like I said, he goes crazy about obsessing about the dial and writing all these theories, and then Indiana Jones goes to him. There's this scene where where Indiana Jones says to him, "Oh, you shouldn't have the dial, it's changing you crazy, this belongs in a museum or something," and then the next line is, "If I give this dial to you, you must make sure you destroy it." And I'm just like, brother, he said he's gonna put it in a museum. Why would you still give it to him? It makes no sense. And of course he didn't destroy it, and that's what causes this whole movie. The whole plot is weird. The whole plot is weird. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Indiana Jones. And like, just to talk about the time travel bit, why did they have to do that, bro? Like I said, they just went full fucking Fast and Furious on this movie. Like, there's some good action sequences. The characters are very unlikable for the most part, but why did they have to travel back in time? Why did they have to do that? They didn't need to add that to the movie. I know like every sort of relic or thing he finds does something in all the movies, right? But usually it just kills all the bad guys. Not travel in time. I thought that was really weird, man. I thought that whole thing was weird. They just went back to fucking ancient Greece and then Indiana. And the worst part about it is Indiana Jones is just like, fuck it. Let me stay. Let me stay here in ancient Greece, 3000 BC or whatever the fuck it would be. And I'm just like, bro, you're gonna fuck up the timeline, bro. Like, you know this. You're an archaeologist. Don't fuck up the timeline. But I guess his life has been ruined, even though he's a pensioner and he's on the verge of death anyway in the movie. I guess, you know, it is what it is. This movie makes no sense. This movie doesn't really make sense. I mean, they brought back even some of the old characters. I mean, I don't know if they did them justice. It was kind of strange, and they kind of like alluded to that there might be another one at the end. I'm just like, please don't make any more of these movies, bro. I'm done with this franchise. I never started with this franchise. Anyway, overall, what would I rate this out of 10? I've been going back and forth on my rating, actually. Right now, I'm kind of leaning on like a 55 out of 100 or 5.5, like a 55%. Like, it has good moments, but is it really that much better than Fast and Furious? Is it really that much better than Fast X that I just watched like a month ago? Is it? I don't know. I think it's slightly better. I don't think it's on the level of John Wick. Like, these are the 3 movies that had a lot of wacky shit in it where you suspend your disbelief. John Wick was definitely the best. Then I think it's Indiana Jones and a dial of dog shit, and then I think it's Fast X. I probably won't watch this movie again anytime soon. But if you want my opinion on whether you should watch it, fuck it. I'm sure if you like Indiana Jones, you like it. At least it's better than Morbius, I guess. And yeah, that's one thing. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for you. I got for you today. I'll see you all in the next one.